Good morning. On this Sunday, September the 25th, 2011, I am happy to be here this morning, and this morning my text will be coming from Mark 5th chapter, verse 22 through 34. And those of you whom may have your Bibles with you, feel free to follow me. And behold, there come one of the rulers of the synagogue, Jairus by name. And when he saw him, he fell at his feet, and he besought him greatly, saying, My little daughter lieth at the point of death. And I pray thee, come and lay thy hands on her, that she may be healed, and she shall live. And Jesus went with him, and much a people followed him and thronged him. And a certain woman which had an issue of blood for 12 long years, and had suffered many things of many physicians, and had spent all that she had, and was nothing better, but rather grew worse. When she had heard of Jesus, came in the press behind and touched his garment. For he said, If I may touch but his cloth, I shall be whole. And straightway the fountain of her blood was dried up, and she felt in her body that she was healed of that plague. And Jesus, immediately knowing in himself that virtue had gone out of him, turned him about in the press and said, Who touched my cloth? And his disciples said unto him, Thou seest the multitude thronging thee, and sayest thou, Who touched me? And he looked around about to see her that had done this thing. But the woman, fearing and trembling, knowing what was done in her, came and fell down before him, and told him of all the truth. And he said unto her, Daughter, thy faith hath made thee whole. Go in peace, and be whole of thy plague. And this morning my subject to you is healed in spite of it all. Now you know we have non-believers at times, and Judas was in that crowd. And there are times when people allow Judas to keep them from receiving God best. They get their eyes focused on some hypocrite rather than focusing on Jesus. And there are a lot of Judas in the crowd that preach the message of God healing. There are plenty of Christians who have used this message for selfish gain. And there are plenty of hypocrites who have preached the message of healing. And because of this, there are many who refuse to believe in healing. And there was a major hypocrite between this woman and Jesus. Or you know what I'm talking about. There are times when you may go to your friend or you may go to your loved ones, and you want to talk about your faith in Jesus. Rather receiving support from them, you get nothing but hypocrite statements trying to diffuse your belief in Jesus. But this woman, and she pressed past the Judas that was confronting her. And sometimes there is a Judas who is closer to Jesus than you are. And unless you get past them, you can't get to Jesus. In other words, when you see others are trying to change your course that you're on by believing by faith, when you find friends and even sometimes your closest loved ones are trying to navigate you off course, I'm here to tell you this morning that I want you to stay on the course of faith to Jesus. You see, in that crowd, there was odd chances against faith, and none of the others got healed in that crowd. This is obvious from the fact that Jesus took note of this one touch. And because there were so many that didn't get healed, she could have said, I was fooling myself to think that God would heal me. Oh, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. When so many in the crowd have odds against you, trying to convince you that there is no chance. But this woman believed that if she could just touch his cloth, that she could be healed. She could have easily given up based on the odds that was against her. The odds was based on the crowds where she wasn't going to get healed. The obvious odds were that she would be just like everyone else in that crowd. Or you know that there are many who will come to a church reunion or come to fellowship or come this morning to listen to the words, but they still have doubt. And sometimes I even ask myself, so little faith, so little faith. But this woman, she didn't pay attention to the odds. She paid attention to faith. And see, there was also some doubting Thomas was in that crowd. And I guess you may say, Bishop, what do you mean there was a Thomas that was in that crowd? See, a doubting Thomas, that Thomas didn't believe anything unless he was that he saw it first. Some people, no matter what you may have told them of the miracles and the blessings that Jesus have provided you, some want to see it before they can believe it. And see, Thomas had to see the nail prints in Jesus' hands before he would believe anyone. Thomas wouldn't believe that Jesus was resurrected unless he saw and handed him himself. Oh, you know that these Thomases are supposed to be believers, but it's got to always be proven to him. And sometimes your blessings is not that which others can see, but those which you know that you are a witness of. And there are many who are like Thomas in the healing crowd and around you today. And they deny that any healing ever took place. And they are skeptical of any evidence that you may have to provide to them how Jesus has brought you from a mighty, mighty long way. Oh, they are critical of those who claim to have been healed by Jesus. But if you want to press in to receive healing, you have to press past doubting Thomases, even your loved ones, and even sometimes your best friend. Because I'm here to let you know that you can't have faith if you have doubt this morning. Heal by faith. Despise the program that was scheduled for that menu. See, Jesus was going to raise the dead that morning, but the program had an alteration, a change in it. The program was to raise Jairus' daughter. The Lord was going a different direction at the time, and there was a mighty move of God taking place that morning, and Jesus was on his way to raise the dead. And she was outside the program. In other words, she wasn't supposed to be a part of what was going to be taking place. It seemed that she was just an onlooker. And some say that healing was only for the past. Some claim it ended with the 12 apostles of Christ. To hear some other individual tell it, you would think that it ended with a healing wave that took place in the 1950s. Today, the emphasis is on other things. Today we want to reach new people groups. Today we want to build small groups. We want to hang. You can hang in this group. I want to get my own crowd. Today we have a different direction that the church has even headed, some of them. But you can't still touch. I want you to know that you can still touch God and be healed in spite of all that. You just need what this woman had. Verses 34 says, thy faith have made thee whole. Thy faith have made thee whole. You see what I'm trying to tell you? That faith in healing, in spite of the prejudice that surrounded her, made her whole. She didn't belong in that crowd if you let some other people would say it. Some judged her as being that she was unclean. Some said that she belonged among the unclean. But I'm a witness this morning to let you know that Jesus will take the unclean and the unjust by faith, if you have it, and set you free. He will cleanse you. Yes, he will. See, this woman, she did not belong in that crowd next to Jesus. She was taking a chance of being recognized when she went to Jesus. See, a lot of us like to identify people by their past, identify people about the wrong things they have done. But there's a song that I would never forget, one of my favorites, that I'm so glad that he saw the best in me. See, on that day, one of the physicians who had worked on this young lady could have recognized her as being unclean. Have you ever gone somewhere and felt out of place? Have you ever wondered what people would think if they found out that you don't normally dress that expensively, or you don't normally do this, or you don't normally do that? Oh, I'm here to tell you this morning that that part of what this woman felt that day as she pressed into to touch the hems of Jesus' garment. The crowd of the humanity can't heal you. Let me say that again. The crowd of humanity can't heal you this morning. Being a pastor doesn't bring healing to my body. Being a Christian for 25 years doesn't bring healing to my body. Oh, the crowd I run with can't heal me this morning. I need a different crowd. I need the presence of Jesus this morning. See, me and Jesus, that's all the crowd I need for healing. Yes, he is a great physician. My crowd of friends hasn't paid for my healing. Jesus paid for it this morning. A crowd of doctors can't heal you this morning. I don't need to press in with the doctors as much as I need to press in with Jesus this morning. My wife, First Lady Dixon, can't save me this morning. I have a number of friends who are doctors, and many of them are born-again believers, but they can't save me this morning. Most of them will tell you that doctors don't heal sickness and disease. They merely treat it. Do you hear what I'm saying this morning? I'm not against doctors. I'm for them. I am against sickness and disease. I believe in fighting it in any way that I can, including medication this morning. I don't believe that sickness is from God. And that is why I believe in doctors and medicine. And if you do believe that sickness is from God, then you are fighting God when you go to a doctor or take medicine for a headache or other problems that you may have this morning. If you believe that sickness is God's will for you, then stay home and accept God's will for your life. Pray that everyone get what you have got if you believe it is from God. I don't believe that way. I don't believe that at all. Doctors can treat you and make you feel better, but Jesus is the healer this morning. Jesus is the healer this morning. And they can tell you what's wrong, but they can't fix what's wrong. Jesus is the healer this morning. You may go to the doctors, let them treat you, but press in and touch Jesus for your healing this morning. Don't worry about what the crowd expects or may think of you. You don't need to live up to that to their expectations of the crowd of your friends. Just press in and touch Jesus this morning. You don't need to live down to the expectation of any crowd or any friend. Just press in and touch Jesus in faith this morning. You don't need to impress any of your friends, relatives, enemies, or your pastor this morning. I want you to just touch Jesus in faith. In my conclusion, notice in verse 34 the reason why Jesus said that this woman was healed. He didn't say, daughters, a special disposition of grace has made thee whole. He didn't say, daughter, a supernatural gift of God, especially for you, have made thee whole. He didn't say, daughter, the pill that the physician gave you earlier has finally made thee whole. He plainly said, daughter, thy faith have made thee whole. See, Mark chapter 9 verse 23 says, all things are possible to him that believes. When I say to press in and touch Jesus, I'm asking you to pray in faith, believing God can and will heal you of all your problems. Our brother and sisters that are listening to me by the sound of my voice, many of you in the state of Georgia and all around the world well informed of Troy Davis, a young African-American man who was executed this week in Georgia after losing all of his legal court appeals, including his appeal to the United States Supreme Court and the request from the Georgia Pardon and Parole Board that he have clemency. The odds was against him, and even though Troy Davis lost his life on earth, if he stood on faith, and I do believe he did, his spirit and soul left his remains on earth, and by faith he may be with Jesus right now. Until next time, I am First Lady Nayoka Dixon, leave you with these 8 words. Where is your faith? Is it with Jesus?